start, and then hopefully Travis will join us soon. All right, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. And we'll start with roll call. Deborah, would you like to do it, or should I go ahead and do it?
You can go ahead.
Okay, will do. Chairperson Riggs here and attending from my home in Ann Arbor. Chair member Armstrong?
Here and attending from the motel in Mobile, Alabama.
Councilperson Bloomer?
Here in Traverse City.
Councilmember Boggs?
Present from my home in Ann Arbor.
Councilperson Schuler?
Here and in Ann Arbor.
Councilperson Gordon? And Councilperson, oh.
He also did not tell me that he wasn't coming, so we are theoretically waiting for him as well.
Okay, and Councilperson Redina. Not here, but maybe joining us soon. Okay, well, we do have a quorum. Hopefully we'll see the others' faces soon. So on our agenda, whoops, I'm getting ahead of myself. So welcome to the March 2nd, 2023 electronic meeting of the Greenbelt Advisory Commission. This meeting is being held electronically. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. Please note that if you are watching this meeting live online, there is a 30-second delay. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 1-877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID number 941-0420-8673. Again, the number to call is 1-877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID number 941-0420-8673. This information is also available on the published agenda, in the public notices section of the city website, and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN channel 16, AT&T channel 99, and online at a2gov.org/watch-CTN. Please note that if you do call in for public comment, you must enter *6 to unmute yourself. So I just did a roll call. Sorry about that mix up in order. But next up is approval of the agenda. So does someone want to make the motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Councilperson Roseanne and Dee seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay, the agenda is approved. And then moving on to approval of the minutes. This was for February 2nd, 2023. It was a fairly brief meeting. Thank you for putting together the meeting minutes. Is that Deborah? Appreciated.
That was Juliet. She's going to be the staff person for this commission going forward.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Juliet. So why don't we just take a moment for folks to review the agenda if you haven't had a chance to do that already. Do the commissioners need more time to review that? No? Okay. No. All right. Okay, if everyone has had enough time and is ready to vote, does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes from February 2nd?
I'll move to accept the minutes from February.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Thank you, Dee, for the motion and Sheila for seconding. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, minutes are approved. The next item is public commentary. So we'll now hold public comment. And is anyone waiting on the line to speak?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Remy. So then we are on to old business. Doesn't look like there is any there. Is that right, Rosie? Okay.
No.
Okay. So for new business, staff report.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. We're going to start with some successes that you know about, but have technically happened since the last real GAC meeting we had. Because our last one was in November, despite the February one. So the Hamilton easement closed successfully at the end of November, which was a long time coming. Remember, the largest easement, I believe, the Greenbelt has done, 375 acres, lots of money involved. Big agricultural piece with solid woods in it on 5 Mile Road. Way to go, Remy, finishing that one. And secondly, right after that, the woods portion of the Maisel property, which is in addition to the county's Northfield Woods Preserve, which is just out of the map there to the south. And that's a whole 220 acres. The Greenbelt contributed a large portion of that funding, 75%, I think, which was very generous. That was really significant with that large contiguous tract of woods. I know since then the county has gone out there several times to go look at it and plan the stewardship for it, and they've gotten additional access to it, at least temporary, through the road commission, which is just north of there, so they can access the north side of it, and they love it and they're excited about it. So thanks from the county for that.
Just a quick note on the financials. The Maisel acquisition was approximately 1.5 million in the Greenbelt. You all recommended in city council.
Oh, yeah.
Just over $1 million, I believe. So about 2/3 of the funding to make that one happen. And that was just Greenbelt and county split. So.
Haha. There. Now it'll be accurate. That one. I'm resharing. There we go. Okay. Okay, moving on here. Okay, yeah, so those added to the map here are right in those spots. Really big green additions to the Greenbelt map. With that good news is a little bit of less fortunate news. One of the other projects that we had in the active projects almost to closing was this Wisely Fix property that was led by Scioto Township, that was going to be a parking lot access to Van Curler Preserve, which is the, you can see on the left map, the green adjacent to the red blob. That project is no more. Their purchase agreement went past its date, and it was not extended. So the contract is up, so your commitment to that project is therefore gone as well, no longer applicable. There's no action we have to take on that. They did find, however, another spot for the parking lot off of Joy Road there. They originally thought that there wasn't one, and then they got the road commission out there and got them to approve an entrance. So the purpose of this acquisition has been completed just by land they already owned. So with their parks millage that they passed a couple years ago, I think that might be funding the development of the parking lot and that access, and hopefully Van Curler Preserve will finally be open to the public. But that project is off of our list. Some public stuff that we have been to recently, and ones that are coming up, was this fantastic 75th annual meeting held by the Washtenaw County Conservation District back in January. They celebrated all of their years of service and all of their accomplishments and their volunteers, and loads of people came to that from all over the place, farmers, government employees, lots of really cool people. I met some really cool people. And they had invited Becky Hutenga from Ottawa County, who does land conservation out there. And she presented on what they're doing out there, some prioritization they've been doing, and sort of the farmland concerns out there that they're facing, and how they compare and contrast with what we're facing in Washtenaw County. Ottawa County was also, if I understood correctly, the original host of Michigan FarmLink. And so there was a little bit of that, and that led into the introduction of the new Michigan FarmLink coordinator, who is being housed by the Washtenaw County Conservation District. Name is Sam Stokes. And she just got settled in that position a couple weeks ago, and is meeting everybody. And we look forward to working with her. Michigan FarmLink is a website program that is for connecting farmers to land, ideally also conserved land. It's a need that has existed in this community for a very long time, and there are already properties on the website in this area. So even in its nascency, it's seems to be a success, and I think she will grow it splendidly. An exciting thing that is coming up next week is a summit that Remy and I are attending. The Greenbelt was specially invited to attend this ASEP Ale Summit hosted by the National Agricultural Land Network and NRCS together to discuss and build relationships about the ASEP Ale program. That is not RCPP, that is ASEP Ale, which is the state competitive grant program that we all apply to a lot. They sent out a survey that was really comprehensive, trying to figure out like what people want to talk about, what are the great successes of ASEP so far, where it needs work, and yeah, I think it'll help us all understand each other, where we're all coming from, and what can be done to maximize its potential. So that's a couple days, Tuesday through Thursday next week in Maryland. Another update. So we've had this RCPP that which is Regional Conservation Partnership Program that Remy secured for the Greenbelt was it last year or 2021 already? With lots of other partners, Washtenaw County, all of the townships, Legacy, a couple others. And just to give background on what an RCPP is, because easy for it to slip through the cracks. I'm constantly relearning things about it. it's like a already guaranteed pot of grant funding for conservation easements. That's how we're using it. So the Greenbelt secured this giant amount of money to do it, but we still need to technically like apply to it like a grant to access the funding for each property. So what we've been working on for a while is getting the program set up to that point. We have multiple forms in place already, which are just sort of redundant names of things, but there are some things we have in place, some things that are working, and we have a wonderful RCPP coordinator who is working with us, and there are still some forms that we're working on setting up. It's taking so long even at this point, even with two of us working on it, because it's still such a new program. This particular round of RCPP has totally different rules than the other ones from a couple years ago, which were the Huron, they're in this map here, the Huron River water, or sorry, no, they're not, those are just the watersheds, but there were two RCPPs before, the Huron River RCPP, and then this, I don't actually know what it was called, but the southern half of Washtenaw County RCPP. Those were under like a different bill, a different sort of RCPP process. And this one is like, they're building it almost from the ground up. So the RCPP coordinator is constantly learning things as well from national headquarters from NRCS, and they are changing their advice frequently also. With staff turnover there, as well as just like, it's a new thing and we're working on it. So we're getting closer and closer. We're hoping for that application period to actually start getting money for conservation easements to open. We're hoping to have this all set up to open that in October. So we've got all of our partners waiting on us to set this up, and they are informed, and they have been also collaborating on some of the forms that we needed to work on together. Yeah, so a little messy, but but we know, at least in the short term, some things we need to do. Any questions on that bit? It's a little, like I said, messy.
I'll just quickly, I want to acknowledge the role that Rosie has played since coming on board with the city, just securing these funds, 7.4 million to do the great work that the Greenbelt and the other regional conservation land protection programs do was a great achievement, and we were all very excited, but we are at the nitty-gritty. And the devil is in the details in this program, and it seems every time we go to access the funding, there's another hurdle, but Rosie is getting us through this process and keeping the partners updated, informed, and hopefully still on board with us as we collectively slog through this federal process. But at some point here, we're going to have access to this money, and the objective of the grant is to deliver on 1,200 acres of protected land over 5 years. So certainly worth the slog, but it is indeed that. And so I appreciate everything Rosie has done to step into this position and in a leadership role to steward all of the partners through this complex process.
And it's a refrain with federal grants or federal anything that the devil is in the details. That's what they care about.
Well, Remy, thanks for teeing up all this funding, because we know that we were along the journey with you as you were doing the application. And now, Rosie, thank you for taking the baton and trying to get it all started in time for October.
I'm starting to realize I have the easy part.
I think that part suited your skills very well, and this part suits mine. And And last bit of detail here, this RCPP covers those two watersheds, the Huron River and the river Raisin there. So obviously the different agencies are limited in where they can work within those watersheds, but it is covering those two watersheds. Okay. And then lastly on staff report, I don't have a slide for it, but we still have two vacant GAC seats for public at large and for environmental / conservation organization representative. We have one person currently going to city council for approval for appointment for the environmental conservation organization representative, Kate Laramie from Huron River Watershed Council. We've worked with her for a little while now, just because we work with the Huron River Watershed Council, and she has some background, or what she does there is well, water quality stuff, but also natural areas evaluation. I think she currently works on actually the bioreserve project a little bit, maybe taking that over from Chris. And she's excited to join. And having someone from the Huron River watershed, of course, we have great water expertise already on our board, on our commission. But having a current staff member is also great for just promoting staff relations. So she should be, I don't know how long that will take. There are two council, the council has to see the appointments twice. So might be another month or two. And we are evaluating applications for the public at large. Yeah.
Huge plug for her. I've had her as a student and a colleague, and she was the master's project client when the Huron River Watershed Council was working on a bioreserve stuff. So she's great on that land water connection.
Great, thanks. Yeah. And then Rosie, did you say there was the other applicant?
We have a few applications for public at large that we will be evaluating soon.
Okay.
That's all I have for staff report. I'd go into budget next. Is that part of staff report or is that its own thing? I don't remember.
Budget is up next. Yeah, that's on the agenda after staff report. So,
budget it is. This is budget as of March 2nd, of course. So those two properties that you approved in November, CARES, right, and Larson, were approved by City Council. Those are both contributions to Webster Township projects. As I said, Wisely Fix is no more. So all these numbers you see here are without those contributions, without those allocations. So that has freed up some money for you. And that's just a note about that, doesn't matter. And then this final number here also includes the theoretical contribution to the project enclosed, the potential contribution to the project that you'll see in closed session.
Sorry, Rosie, which final number? I can't see where you're pointing, or if you're pointing.
Oh, just the very
last one. Okay,
all
right.
Yeah, at the bottom.
The fund balance. Okay, makes sense.
The fund balance less commitments, pipeline, etc.
Okay, thank you.
So not a lot of projects going on at the moment, but a lot that we're looking at once that RCPP comes up. Any other questions here?
maybe just one. Do you anticipate that both CARES 2 and Larson will close in the next quarter? Oh, sorry, 2024. Yeah, I misread that.
I'm glad you bring that up though. Just in case, the years, I want to clarify the years here. So I don't really know what was done before, whether, or if you have a preference for one. If the years here are by calendar year or by fiscal year. So the city's fiscal year ends in June, at the end of June. So what I have right here now is based on fiscal year, not calendar year.
Okay.
If you all have a preference for one or the other, I'm happy to change that. But this is fiscal year, so this would be the end of, gosh, 2023.
That would translate as Q4 2023 or Q2 2024 fiscal year.
Correct.
Mhm.
Okay. I don't care as long as it's clear which is which. Then it doesn't really matter. It's more a matter of what's fluent on your side, for the people who work with these daily, as opposed to during meetings and such, which is more fluent for you to understand where you are in your processing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And maybe it's just reminding us from time to time that it is the city's fiscal year, or even making a note of it on the spreadsheet.
That would be great. I'd like to see it on the spreadsheet too. I think it gets confusing sometimes.
I'll just put FY there.
Thank you.
All right, that's it for budget.
Thanks, Rosie. Okay. Next up on the agenda then, under new business, is an update on Buy, Protect, Sell.
All right.
Okay, we're back talking about affordable farmland access and buy, protect, sell transactions. I'm going to do a couple slides to recap where we've gone in the past with this conversation, why we started it, and why it's important. And then Rosie will take it from there and talk about where we're headed. Rosie, are you able to advance the slide? Okay. So what is affordable farmland access? Land is essential to starting a farm business, and location of that land determines a farmer's market opportunities. And yet the number one challenge for new and beginning farmers in the United States is finding first, knowing what's available, and then securing land. That is the number one challenge when surveyed, that is uniformly noted by new and beginning farmers. To exacerbate that issue, the land surrounding cities, where the market opportunities are greatest, is the most expensive and difficult to access for a variety of reasons. So that is the land access challenge that land seekers face in the United States. But what is happening to address that problem is a few different efforts. You do have initiatives like what we spoke of earlier, MI Farm Link, as a program that connects land seekers to those and exiting the farming business and looking to sell their land and find that next generation to connect with. But you also see proactively a movement within the land conservation and land acquisition world for conservation agencies utilizing innovative transactional models and programming that directly facilitates affordable farmland access opportunities within the communities that they aim to serve. Up to date, I'd say this conversation of land conservation groups, organizations utilizing these innovations in their work has been limited up until the last couple of years, where we've seen a breakthrough in the deployment of those transactional models in the community by some of our conservation partners. It was a conversation for well over a decade leading up to that last couple of years where we've seen these innovative practices break through. And so we want to be on the vanguard of making sure there's a thoughtful, meaningful build out of that type of programming to benefit the next generation of farmers and ensure that farms stay in farming hands. So we want to use these innovative models and develop our own for our own program purposes, thoughtfully, carefully, and proactively. Next slide. So to that end, we developed a few things. We developed a buy, protect, sell. That is the innovative transactional model used by these conservation groups to create affordable farmland access opportunities. But before engaging in one of these transactions, we wanted a few things in place. So we created a buy, protect, sell policy that was adopted by GAC back in what year is it? It's 2023. So 2021, I believe. Late 2021 or early 2022, potentially. GAC adopted that policy. Staff built out a high level document that provided some guidance as a reference point for how the city might approach looking for a parcel that was suitable for a buy, protect, sell transaction, how we might go about a public process to sell the land, what considerations we want in terms of selecting a buyer, et cetera. So we built out that guidance as a reference point for GAC, the public, ourselves as the practitioners dealing with these transactions, making sure that we're asking ourselves really thoughtful questions and being intentional with the work we're doing. And then very importantly, the piece of this puzzle that is so public facing is the request for proposals for selecting buyers. And so we built out a template RFP to give an example or serve as the basis for the out sale process and selection process in a buy, protect, sell transaction. So those will always be fine tuned case by case, parcel by parcel. But those were the three fundamental pieces of the equation we wanted in place before pursuing any buy, protect, sell parcel or acquisition. Those documents were reviewed by the city attorney's office, by some of our local funding partners that would be integral to making sure that we have the finances necessary to get these acquisitions done, and then by our partners who work more with the farming community that we aim to serve through Michigan State University Extension. So this was adopted, these three documents were adopted overall as the framework for the city's buy, protect, sell work, and then a memo with these summarizing the need and GAC's overall support for this utilizing this framework was shared with City Council.
All right, so I'm going to talk about what we're doing now to implement those things and to get it moving. So this is perhaps a painfully simple idea to start with, but as the name buy, protect, sell suggests, there are three primary branches of work to consider in that process. The second one, protect, we know very well. The easement process in this is not going to change very much. We know the who, what, when, where, why of easements. Really detailed. All that would change is sort of like when it's recorded. But not much is different there. The buy and the sell are the two processes we have been spending lots of time on. And all of those documents that were developed were really important to even just like get us here. We've been having so many conversations, even just in the year that those happened, that some of it requires evolving or fleshing out a little bit more. So we're going to start with the buy part of the process. I'm going to break them down into buy and sell here. So the buying itself is of course not much of a problem. We do that all the time. It's not much different in this process than any other fee simple purchase other than why you're purchasing it. Choosing what land to buy however, is more complex. And as I said, has evolved as we've considered more deeply the goals and objectives of our Buy, Protect, Sell program. This graphic is from one of those documents, the guidelines or whatever. Many of the factors listed here, so we're already considered for what land we might buy. A lot of those factors relate to what is always the primary goal of the Greenbelt, to protect natural area and farmland. But we are also hoping for other beneficial outcomes to tag along with those land protection outcomes, like maybe local food production and production, or like not cash crops or organic farming. But of course, namely, the outcome we can say we really want is ensuring the success of the program itself, which is actually selling the land and setting up the new owners for as much success as is appropriate for our land acquisition focused program to do. So we already know a few. Oh, right. Here's what I'm saying here. So all of these other things here, market suitability, is the parcel suitable for agricultural production? They may satisfy, just land protection things, but these are sort of the criteria that are going to say, are the farmers going to be successful when they buy and use this property? So those are important additional things to consider here. So these are some preferred parameters that we need to consider, that land seekers will be considering, and ones that they will require, like the smaller size of land parcel and the ability to have a house. Parcel size, sorry, I have like some notes written out. Parcel size and available building rights are topics we know how to address, and our success in doing so will help us sell the Buy, Protect parcels more easily. But the land needs to do what the farmers want it to do. So these here are critical to that success. Unfortunately, these ag suitability and economic questions and potential other considerations that we don't even list here are factors that Remy and I don't know a whole lot about, or know less about evaluating and how to evaluate it. This is one of the areas like market suitability or food and fiber production suitability, where we hope to engage some stakeholders and build partnerships with experts that can advise on evaluating potential parcels. Those partnerships may or may not at this point take the form of a separate evaluation committee, but another thing to consider as we go forward, and could depend on what we learn in our process here. Before I get to sell. So what else did I want to say here? So I'll get to this more in the timeline, but what I just said means that we will conduct some stakeholder engagement processes over the next few months to help answer some of those questions, and to help find people who can help us evaluate those things that we don't know how to evaluate, if they're appropriate things to evaluate at all. Any questions on buy? It's okay, there will be more later. Okay, moving to sell. So as in the Greenbelt's guidance and policy documents, we know we want to sell our parcels via an RFP, ensuring a public process that's also highlighted and enforced by the county's participation. And this is, from our research, this is pretty much how an RFP is, how many other Buy, Protect, Sell programs in the country do it, how they sell their properties, and often with scoring systems built in to evaluate those proposals. The RFP template that was approved some time ago is most of the way there, but like I said, conversation has evolved, and we're just going to take another look at it, at the scoring breakdowns, at the required documents that we're asking them to submit, like the business plan or, evidence of income or success over the years, and evaluate and pay attention to the complexity of the RFP that we're putting out there. In the conversations that we've had so far with experts in new and beginning farms, have yielded the insistence that the RFP needs to be accessible and approachable if we're trying to get, people who really need this land, and from various demographics, whether they're new, whether they're just like working all of the time. The easier it is to do, the better. So for instance, if we want applicants to submit a business or farm plan, we should provide a template for that. We should examine the time it might take for someone to assemble, if we're asking for them, tax records, production records. The source from which a potential applicant receives the RFP could even affect approachability. For example, the city may seem like a more intimidating provider of that RFP than Washtenaw County Conservation District. So we hope to utilize our networks to spread the word of the RFP and to let people access that from organization or person that they trust. Anything we can do to make proposals more possible to a diverse group of people, the better. And we have and will continue to tap advisors for making that better. And yeah, we are collecting a list of organizations and individuals that will be able to advertise this. When the proposals come in, and the RFP closes, we as staff have decided that GAC will be the ultimate selector of the winning proposal, with staff and external advice sought as needed, which I point out only because because we were considering having like an independent committee, but ultimately this is what GAC does. And having that selection done by a public commission, accountable to the public, I think is a good idea. So that'll be an exciting thing for y'all to look at and do. Questions on selling? And next I will go into timeline.
Not a question.
Is the,
maybe. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
Okay, fine, I'll go. The sales and marketing side of things, also, is that something that would be decided through the city? Is that something that would be only through the networks, like in the Michigan MI Farm Link? Is that a consideration as part of this process, or is that independent of this process?
The marketing of it?
Yeah, once we've got land ready to go, obviously we want to be able to put the RFP out there.
Yeah.
Is there an element built into the RFP process that puts it out there to other people? Would it be something like through MI Farm Link? Would it be through various partners?
Yeah.
I'm just curious if I don't even need to know what it is. I'm just curious if that is a consideration built into the process.
So I see Remy unmuted himself, but let me try to answer. So it will be, the city has its own RFP process. Like it has to post it in a particular place on the website and on the city's website. And then I currently imagine that link, that information would be sent to this network that we're building, including Michigan Farm Link, and anybody else really. But we can, I don't want to say that, but we can advertise it to different people and they can advertise it, and we hope to get it out there in various means, but it will be posted on our city RFP page.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, my thought was just, you sort of made mention of this, do farmers really spend a lot of time looking at the city of Ann Arbor's website or something like that, right? So I'm glad to hear that there are some channels that we can process all this through, and there may be more ideas that appear over time for that as well.
Yeah. The township, created a list that they sent their RFP through. Sure, we can pull some from that as well.
I would anticipate that our final distribution list for the RFP, the network that we build, et cetera, is going to be shared with all of you, and we'd be very much interested and welcome additional organizations, individuals, sites, et cetera, that we should consider posting on if they're not on our list, our distribution list. So that would go before we issue the RFP to you all for feedback.
Indeed. And my immediate homework for you at the end of this was, if you had immediate burning ideas of people you wanted us to talk to for any part of this process, to email us that as soon as possible. So the draft aggressive timeline for this is illustrated here. So the top is the buy process and the bottom is the sell process. So these will be happening simultaneously here. So starting with I'm going to start at the bottom with the sell process, because that's a little more pressing and a little more on my mind, because we need to get it done. So consider your homework, because I would like to have all of that collected right about now. So send me your stakeholder suggestions. So then we will start setting up meetings with stakeholders as necessary. Some stakeholders they will just be stakeholders to inform. Some will be ones to engage or collaborate with. We will assess that as appropriate. So that's kind of both a buy and sell thing. So going back to the sell, by your April meeting, we hope to have, so just next month, hope to have all of the RFP criteria and weights newly drafted for you to review. That would assess the proposals that come in. By the end of April, I say there the Maisel property arrangements are worked out. I will show you images of that after this, but that's basically getting the property ready to sell in some legal ways. Like if we need to split it, make sure that it is allowed to be split. Kind of figuring out or finalizing like where the building envelopes will go, and making sure that those are appropriate places according to zoning law of Northfield Township, such like that. And we hope to release the full RFP at the beginning of or at the end of June. So we'll have it all developed by your June meeting for you to review. We will incorporate any feedback and post it by the end of June. We have chosen that time because planting should be approximately over, we think, and planting and harvesting seems to be the most busy times. So hopefully any farmers have time to work on this over the summer. We intend to have an open house at the farm for people to come and see it and look at it, and the RFP sometime in September. And then not shown here, the current idea is to have it actually sold in like January-ish, so that the farmers can plan for the next growing, the purchaser can plan for the next growing season. This is, as I said, a bit aggressive. When Remy and I were discussing this, when we first laid this out, it was a 2-year timeline. And then we decided we didn't really want to wait that long, and that was pushing up against the participation agreement with the county anyway. So let's just smash it into 1 year. So me showing you this helps keeps us accountable for this timeline, but I hope you will be forgiving if we don't meet it exactly. But this is our goal, and I'm excited for it.
Kudos to Rosie for taking what I felt should be a 2-year timeline and aggressively condensing it into 1 year and pushing the envelope, because the sooner we complete the first full buy, protect, sell transaction, we will have developed proof of concept. We understand there's a need. We hear that and have heard it for many years, that there's a need for this type of affordable farmland access programming in our community. But for our own program, for our own purposes, to meet our own programmatic objectives, to get this done sooner rather than later behooves the next 10 years of the Greenbelt program and fitting more of these transactions in within the remaining life of the program.
And that applies to our buy timeline as well. The need is there, so we want to do more. We just want to make sure we're not buying them willy-nilly, and again, that they will actually make successful properties. So we have this buy process as well on the top here. We already, like, we've had some like other potential candidates for buy, protect, sell that we've looked at, that we hope don't go away while we're sort of finalizing this. So you will be engaged in that process that you can see here.
If I want to speak to that just a little bit more, so you're all aware. Yeah. No, it's not a formal application. No, it's not something that needs to be elevated to you on a consistent basis. But you should all be aware that as we've been building out this process, there has been more and more either phone calls or informal discussions with farmers and other community members. There's more people interested in selling vulnerable parcels to the program for a buy, protect, sell transaction. So that's why as we develop and work through this process of selling the Maisel property, which by no standard was haphazard in terms of or willy-nilly in its purchase. We all determined collectively, and City Council agreed, that the adjacency to the large county acquisition made sense, and it created an additional conservation buffer. So that parcel made sense, independent of a fully understood buying criteria and process. But now that we're seeing there's more and more expressed interest as we build out this model, we see that we need finer tuned criteria for purchasing additional parcels around the Greenbelt district. So the need for us to do this in a timely manner and build out that framework so you all can assess multiple parcels at once and decide, are we going to move forward with one or two of those, is a necessity at this point.
Well, it's really helpful and exciting to see what you've been working on and thinking about, how the timing and the cadence of all of this is going to work, as well as what the commission can anticipate. Generally, I hear you, Rosie, that you're asking for some grace in case things don't quite, hit these marks, but helpful for, I think, for the commission to see that probably for most of the meetings that we have this year, part of the agenda is going to be about some aspect of buy, protect, sell, which also hopefully we can have, good attendance for the year from the commissioners so that there is that continuity so that we can remember what we talked about last time and how the current step fits into the overall picture. I just wanted to maybe ask a question or / make a point, and I'm curious to see if other people have reactions to this. And that is, so I can appreciate balancing for the reasons that were mentioned, doing a more accelerated time frame for the program, 1 year as opposed to 2 years, balancing that with also trying to get the word out to maybe non-traditional applicants and folks who, may not have the resources that applicants or that folks involved with conservation easements would typically. So I wanted to ask Rosie and Remy, what kind of thought do you have about this time frame of when the RFP would be open? Do you think that will be an ample amount of time to give, a non-traditional applicant?
I hope so, but I suppose I haven't assessed it that closely yet. I haven't looked at like the city or asked other people at the city how long RFPs are traditionally posted, just regular ones. I know it varies based on the complexity of the project. We can start there.
Renya,
Kinda
can you
so-
cut Woody out, please?
I kind of tentatively selected the beginning of September as the end, just again thinking about like the harvest season. Like, are they going to be busy at that point either? But I don't have any backup beyond that. Remy?
No, I appreciate you flagging that, Elizabeth. There are other robust, experienced Buy Protect Sell programs in the country that we could look to and see what they're setting in terms of an open period for accepting proposals. Vermont Land Trust's land access program comes to mind. And so we'll benchmark whatever we set against those. But we'll also make sure that that's a question that we ask when in this stakeholder engagement process. We obviously hope that this has a continuing ripple effect of we meet with one stakeholder who refers us to another to go meet with, and we're collecting all this feedback about how do we thoughtfully issue an RFP and get it out to the network that we want to hit. That can be one of the key questions that we ask and then report back on whether or not 2 months seems reasonable. Should it be extended to 3 months? I think that a big piece, or there are two big factors in deciding the timeline for that open period, and that's how complex is the application and how are we crafting that the RFP to be achievable for all to readily apply to and meet the requirements of it. And then what can we do in the networks that we have with the resources they have available to create independent parties that will support these potential applicants. Not having had this conversation with the conservation district or anyone else, but is there someone we can tap in the community to thoroughly vet them on, or not vet them, but orient them to the RFP, what it entails, what it requires, and then have them be someone who is not staff that can interact with potential applicants and guide them through should they need assistance. That is an element that would be a critical success factor, but I'm just not sure the partners there in our community that we need. If it's extension, the conservation district, a private entity, I don't know. But that would be a critical success factor that could, I think, safely shorten the window if that support network is there. And if it's not there, accounting for that by offering more time and a clear FAQ published with the RFP that sets standards and clearly articulates those.
Yeah. That sounds great. Thanks. Do other folks have reactions or questions for Rosie or Remy?
No, only thank you for doing all of this work. I was thinking, gosh, aren't we going to need a whole different set of criteria then for choosing those? And you're already way ahead in the game. And then I wondered if we could get copies of the PowerPoints so we can be up to speed each time, like you were saying, to help us keep up.
Yep, that's no problem. I hope to share this with Robert and Travis as well.
I think it may be that we use this particular slide and update it as needed as part of the staff report each meeting, so that those that missed things can review what has happened prior and what's ahead, so that we can consistently keep a pulse on that.
Well, that's most of the important stuff. I have a little extra stuff for you, which is just sort of a review of the property itself that we are currently selling, that is going through that timeline. So really zooming in down here on the details. So the Maisel farm next to the Maisel that was purchased, that we showed at the beginning. So Noller Road in between Territorial to the north and Northfield Church to the south, about 54 acres, ag field. What was I saying? Okay, the south field is currently in hay, and there's a little bit of woods, and the north field is in crop rotation. On the south end by the road, you can see some buildings there. The main building there is an old, rather pretty looking milking barn that is in fair condition. And there are a couple other smaller structures. And those farm buildings were separated from the original house some long time ago at this point. And that house is the parcel to the south there. So that's the parcel we're working with. There's a little sort of creek perennial that divides those two fields. So these drawings here are the two possible, again, very draft ways of selling this. So when this property was going through approvals, the pitch for this property was that it would either be sold as the full 54 acres with one building envelope, or split potentially as shown there along the creek, each with its own building envelope. This is when I said in the timeline that Maisel is ready for sale, I was saying this is the kind of stuff that we need to continue working out. Again, this is not final, but these are the kinds of things that we need to consider when buying new properties and when preparing them for sale. Like I already know, for instance, the north 5-acre building envelope as drawn is not going to be that way, because there are too many pipelines over there for that to work. And then just also, again, like setting people up for success, I want to move that building envelope away from the corner a little bit, for mainly because of the pipeline, but also just to like help them think about zoning. There are setbacks in zoning, so moving it a bit away from the edge, is like a nice thing to do. So we're still working this out. Like, is that split there even possible? I think it is according to law, but things to consider. And those things need to be approved or semi-approved, or at least had a talk with the township about those before we go advertising this in an RFP as such. We also might consider evaluating soils a little bit more here, to give some level of assurance that a house could be built where there isn't one, for septic system purposes. So that's just some super detail about what I'm working on, like right now.
That's great. Thanks, Rosie.
That is the end of that presentation.
Does anyone have any questions about any of what Rosie just went through?
Just one question generally about the BiProtect cell. Do we have a sense, it may be impossible to know right now, but like how often there's going to be this opportunity? Like, can you communicate that in any way to the farmers who are looking out for RFP opportunities?
We haven't discussed that. Like I think we've had, as Remy said, more and more people are interested in it as it is aware, as people have become aware that it is an option. The townships have definitely received more interest since they started doing that, since SIO started doing that. So I don't know if I would commit to like one every year or anything. But with the interest levels, I mean, that's quite possible.
It is possible, I'd say. What I'd say to that is we're going to work through a few of these. We're going to, work out the problems with it, if there are any. And when we have a good system in place for doing these, then that is something that is a larger discussion that you all have, is your collective vision for success for this program. And by the time we've worked through a few of these transactions, we'll also understand whether there is any draw in terms of capacity for us to do the traditional acquisition work that the Greenbelt has done so well for 20 years. And if it means that we do 20% less of the traditional Greenbelt acquisition work, are you all comfortable with that exchange for an innovative conservation or acquisition model that produces secondary benefits or has co-benefits to the primary purpose of conservation that you feel outweighs, that 20% hit to the traditional work? So it's going to take time for us to feel that out in terms of what staff capacity is as we build efficiencies and have experience with the BiProtect cell framework from start to finish. But so I would say we could see as little, I would hope, for 10 years. This is a 30-year millage that expires in 2033. And if it is not renewed, that means we have 10 years. I would hope at a minimum, we could potentially do at least one of these a year. But if there are efficiencies built and it's not detrimental to the other portfolio of work we do, maybe we could do as many as 2 or 3, and we could see 20 of these over the next 10 years. So big TBD, and also rests on your shoulders to help guide that conversation for the programmatic vision we have. This does align with our strategic plan. This is one way of fulfilling the objectives articulated in our strategic plan. So, but there are other objectives we have around water quality, natural area preservation, etc., that aren't necessarily always hit by BiProtect cell, whereas affordable farmland access very much is on the nose. So we'll have that conversation after we've worked through a few.
Really helpful. I just imagine that those are going to be some of the most common questions we hear, which is, is this a new thing? How often are you going to do it? Are you going to stop doing other things because you're doing it? So it's good to know that's all TBD and part of the conversations we'll have.
Yep. Good question.
Sheila. Any other questions or comments before we move on to our next agenda item? Okay. Thank you so much, Rosie and Remy. It's really exciting. Lots of great progress. So next on the agenda is next agenda items. Now, if I was looking at the timeline that you just showed us by BiProtect cell, I imagine there's going to be something for that topic next month.
Yes, on that timeline is GAC reviews, RFP criteria and weights. Mhm.
Something to look forward to.
And I think, did D have a next agenda proposal that we were talking about?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've already forgotten it, I admit.
I remember, but I'm letting her get unmuted. Oh, you want me to just go ahead? Okay. So I think we wanted to talk next time about our meeting format
That's
in
right.
terms of virtual meeting, or if we are going to be introducing some in-person meetings again.
Yes, good.
Is that a fair representation, Dee, of what you wanted to talk about? Okay. Sorry, you're muted, but hopefully that's
I can kind of read her facial
okay. Thumbs
expressions.
up. Okay. Anything else for April? Oh, you're unmuted now. Did you want to say anything, Dee?
No, I just wanted to say what I said before was, I'm open to all kinds of arrangements. So, for that, something, but I've never been to a meeting with anybody here.
Oh,
Yeah, so, and I felt so good to finally meet the flesh and blood of you at the one gathering we had. So I guess that's kind of an important part for me, but I also understand that anyway, we don't want to discuss it now. We're going to discuss it another time. So
Okay.
we did have a brief chat about doing that soon, like with the new members coming on and with
Yeah.
staff and with Travis and stuff. So it's a good opportunity.
yeah, that would be great.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Next up, we're going to be moving to closed session to discuss land acquisition. So for that, will someone move that we can go into closed session?
I cannot find the link for closed session. So
I'll
Sure.
have it sent to you again.
Okay. Yeah,
It was
Rosie, if
sent
you would.
out on Friday automatically too. I hope did everyone get that?
I see there was a reminder I got yesterday on it.
Oh, it was yesterday. Yeah. Okay. I sent a reminder. Yes. Zoom automatically sends it the day before.
Okay.
Tip 4:13.
Well, then I'll
is when I
find
got
it.
mine. March 1st, 4:13.
Yes.
Is it from Rosie?
It's like an
Yes.
automatic one from Zoom that says reminder.
All
I'm
right, then
resending it to you now, Dee. So you should get
Thank
another one.
you.
Mhm.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, so while Rosie's doing that, I think Jason, did I see you make a motion to go into closed session? Okay. Is there
Second.
support,
Support.
Sheila? Okay. All right, then let's see. Let's roll call to get out of there. Councilperson Bloomer, just yes would be the response. Oh, you're muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilperson Boggs,
Yes.
Councilperson Armstrong,
Yes.
Councilperson Schuler,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Okay, so we're now going into closed session, and fingers crossed, we'll see you there. I know that we have a motion from closed session.
Yeah, we need
Here she is.
D. Oh, good.
Got it.
All right. Great. So Dee is with us now too. So we're back from closed session. Are there any motions from closed session? I think Dee, you have
Oh,
one
yes,
that
yes. Yes, and yes, I have a motion. I have a motion to recommend the purchase of development rights on application ID 2022-05 in Scioto Township, to approve a participation agreement with Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation and appropriate funds not to exceed $150,000 from the open space and parkland preservation millage proceeds.
Thank you, Dee.
Thank you, Sheila.
Sheila, would you like to support this one?
Support.
Great. Is there
Yay.
any discussion of the motion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Great. Maybe we'll get out there to see salamander at some point. All right, so the next item on our agenda is public commentary.
Still no one.
So no one? Okay. Then I'm going to refrain from talking through all of the instructions for that. That's okay. All right. And then next on the agenda is communications. And do we have any communications to discuss? And is that related to a previous committee?
Yes. Which we can remove from the draft. Sorry, I missed that. We can remove that from the template agenda.
Okay. Right. Okay. In that case, then we are to adjournment. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rosie, Remy, and the support team at the city and CTN and all of our commissioners. Stay
Thank you.
safe with the latest weather.
Okay.
Mm.
Good luck, guys.
Yes, thank you
Aye.
all.
Thank you. Bye.
Back here, safety.
Yeah, we're soon.